Hello. We've just been lashed by Storm Ellen for a couple of days. There's been some significant wind across this garden, and I mean significant. It's been gale force. And so what I've had to do is move quite a few of my buckets into the greenhouse. So it was fortunate that we're starting to come to the end of the tomato growing season, if you like, and I was able to rejig the buckets in the greenhouse to create some space, because it is only an 8x6, and bring some buckets in. So we've plenty of tomatoes still on the vines. They're all starting to turn red now. These vines have been pinched out at the growing tip for at least 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And so yeah, there'll be no more tomatoes growing on these vines. What you see is what we'll get. Fingers crossed, they'll all turn red and there'll be no blossom end rot. And what I'll do is I'll go around the greenhouse in a minute and I'll show you what I've got in here. But first of all, I want to show you these. These are my onions drying off. What do you think? Ailsa Craig. Yeah, we're happy with this. The onions are drying off nicely. I lifted those before Storm Ellen came, and I also lifted some potatoes. Hey, check this guy out. One potato, £1 in weight. Now that's a biggie. But it reminded me when I harvested this of some potatoes I harvested some years ago, some sapomira. And this one potato weighed £1 in weight. And I knew I'd lifted some big potatoes in previous growing years. I knew there was sapomira, and I had to go back and check out some of the videos that I'd produced. And I dug up one particular sapomira. I christened it Boomerang Boy. And I christened it Boomerang Boy because it was shaped like a boomerang. Hey, take a look at this. Okay, so that was Boomerang Boy. Now this is Boomerang Boy on the scales. Take a look at this. Whoa, that was a big potato, wasn't it? Twice as heavy as that, probably physically twice as big. And looking back at that, and that reminded me, I've got some sapomira in the garden now, and I'm conducting a trial. And I've planted some standard size seed potatoes, sapomira, and I've planted 3 really big seed potato sapomira. And the reason I've done that is to see if bigger seed potatoes produce bigger potatoes. I don't know if they will, but we're only a couple of weeks away off finding out. And I'm really looking forward to lifting those sapos, particularly the ones that were grown from really big seed potatoes. I'm really looking forward to doing that, just to see if I get any whoppers. If I don't, I don't. You know, it's no big deal. If I don't, I don't. If I do, I do. We're only going to eat them, big or small. We're going to eat them. Yep. Okay, so that's what we're up to. Just before I whiz you around what's in the greenhouse, I also lifted some beetroot last week. I had some beetroot in a bucket, and they needed to come out, really. Beetroot in this garden have started to bolt this year, and I knew these would bolt if I didn't get them out. I would like to have given them a bit longer, but I was worried that they would bolt. So I took the beetroot out. Have a look at this. Well, that was one or two nice beetroot, wasn't it, from a 10-inch water bucket? People say you can't grow beetroot in water buckets. Well, you can. Small pots, yeah, you can. Look, I've just done it. I showed you it there. If you want to give it a go, give it a go. It's too late this year. Hey, there's all next year untouched, isn't there? There's all next year untouched. Okay, let's swing this camera around and let me show you what we've got sheltering in the greenhouse. This is my celery. There are 4 nice heads of celery growing in this bucket, and it shouldn't be long till we start to harvest them. These are my Christmas potatoes. They wouldn't have stood a chance in that wind, not a chance. They're quite tall, they're quite leggy, and they don't look that strong. We haven't got a flower on one here. Now we're still 4 months away from Christmas and we have a flower. I still don't have a great deal of confidence that we'll grow these through till Christmas, but we've got them in here today because of the wind, and at the first chance I get I'll take them back outside. These 3 potatoes are finished now. As you can see, I've taken the tops off them. They're ready to harvest. We're just not ready for potatoes indoors yet, but I've brought them into the greenhouse because there's no point in them standing outdoors. They're not growing, and all that's going to happen is that the soil in these buckets will just get waterlogged with all the rain we're having. So they're in here now for a period of time, hopefully to dry out a little, and then we'll take these buckets of potatoes. I've got a couple of buckets of carrots here. These are definitely ready to be harvested. I mean, there's some sizable looking carrots when we look into the top of the bucket, but to be honest, all the carrots I've taken this year have been very short and disappointing really, and I don't know why that's happened. But we've got 2 buckets of carrots and we'll be taking those shortly. We've got a couple of buckets of leeks here. I've got some leeks growing in these buckets, and yeah, they're looking okay. We're quite pleased with these so far, but these leaves are so long they're starting to look a bit moth-eaten, and also the wind's just snapping them off, so they had to come into the greenhouse as well. But as soon as the weather picks up, and hopefully it will, these leeks and those carrots are going back outdoors until we harvest them later in the year. Okay, so as you can see, there's some nice reveals ahead of us still in this year, isn't there? Celery's looking good. I think we'll get a couple of nice heads of celery out of that bucket. I'm fairly sure we will. And I may not have mentioned it earlier in this video, but I'm going to mention it now. That celery was grown from seed. If you're growing celery from shop-bought celery, you've cut the root off, you've sat it in a dish of water, it's grown some roots, it's grown some shoots. Hey, you're having great fun. You're having great fun. And you're nearly gardening. Nearly. Now you might want to plant that up. It's got roots, it's got shoots, you may want to put it in a bucket and grow it on. Well, I did. Grew as big as a bush, never got a single stalk of celery off it, and leaves, there was more leaves than you could shake a stick at. So if you want celery leaves, go the shop-bought celery regrow route. If you want proper celery, bunches of celery, it's seeds. That's what it is, it's seeds. Okay, hey, Christmas potatoes. We've a long way to go yet. We've a long way to go yet. But hey, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. Come on, let's get upbeat. Yep, we've got 3 potato plants growing. Let's get upbeat. Potatoes for Christmas here at Homegrown Veg in the UK. The other potatoes that I showed you, the ones that I've taken the tops off, the buckets are quite deformed. In fact, I'll get this off the table now and I'll see if I can show you that on camera. And they're deformed because the buckets, well, it's got to be potatoes. What else can it be inside the bucket? I'll show you that in a minute. And yeah, leeks and carrots, well, when they're ready, and that's when we'll do them. Let me get this out the way. Let me show you one of these buckets before I call it a day. Right. Okay. I hope you can see this. That bucket should be round. It's oval. Why is it oval? Because the potatoes in there are making it oval. Now let me see if I can show you what the potatoes are doing to the sides of this bucket. I'm not sure how the light catches this, but I'm going to turn it and see if the light will I mean, there's a potato sticking out for starters. There's potatoes here pushing through the side of the bucket. There's a potato there pushing through the side of the bucket. I don't know how this is turning out. I will when I get a look at the video. But hey, this bucket is really deformed. And it's deformed because there's potatoes in here that need to be harvested. We'll let this bucket dry out a bit. And when it does, and when we need potatoes, we'll harvest them. Is that a deal? I look forward to this one. Okay. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. And yeah, stay safe, stay in your garden, plant something, grow something, make plans for the future. This is Homegrown Veg, signing out.